Hello everyone, welcome to Dan Does Stuff. Today I want to show you how to change the oil on a 2016 Ford Edge. And this model has the 2.0 turbo. So I'm going to go through the tools, everything that you need, and then I'll show you how to do it in the winter. Yes, I'm crazy, right? First thing you want to do is get all the supplies. The 2.0 model takes 5.6 quarts of 5W30, and I always use the Motorcraft Synthetic Blend. That's what they call for in the owner's manual. Always use it, nothing wrong with it. So we got the 5 quarts here, and the 6th one, 5.7, we'll go through that. Next thing you'll need is an oil filter for this engine. It's the FL-910S, and I'll put all this stuff in the description so you have that as well. To remove the drain plug on the engine, you need a 15mm socket and a ratchet. Definitely need a funnel, rag, something to catch your oil. Yeah, I use this. It works fine. You're like, why does he have a screw gun? Impact driver, actually. This is a T30 bit star bit that you need to take off the damper underneath the air damper in order to get at the drain plug and in order to get at your fuel or oil filter. Goodness gracious. Last thing, I always wear these gloves. They are awesome. Get a bunch of oil on your hands, whatever, just chuck them. I love them. All right, so that's what you need to get this job done. Now, first step, get your edge warmed up to operating temperature, whether or not you're driving around or just start it up for 15 minutes and let it run, to get that oil to thin down so it's not so thick. Especially in the winter, it'll take forever to drain out. After that, it's warmed up, pop the hood. If you don't know how to pop the hood, right in the driver's side, right by your left foot, down below, you'll see the release latch. Pull that back until you hear a pop. And what will happen is you can lift up the hood just a little bit. And if you get down low, real low, you can see this little yellow tab. All you do is push it to the left and lift, and your hood will lift up and release. So we got that. We're good to go. Next step, we want to grab that star bit, that T30 in your impact driver. This works great because it can fit under there. I'm not lifting the vehicle up to do this. I'm going to be on the ground. Get the air damper off, then I'll show you the next step. All right, we got this off. You have 11 screws that you got to do. And what I kind of do, this is the back, towards the back of the car. This is the front. I work my way from the back up to the front and leave like the last two or three up front, so then it doesn't just drop down. It does have these tabs that hold it up in there, but if somebody broke them off or something like that, then it just makes your day a little bit more difficult. That's not bad. So we got this off, set this to the side. You should have 11 screws that you pulled out. And now let's get to draining the oil. Here's our drain plug underneath. You can see it. Hold on, I'll try to reach. Get too big. Right there. So that's where you want to put your 15mm socket on. And lefty-loosey, we'll get that off. Make sure you have your drain pan right underneath that to get all that oil out. While we let that oil drain, one thing I usually do will come up on top. On top of the engine, you'll see the oil cap. There's going to be two spots. There's going to be the dipstick on your left and the oil cap on the right. I always just open that up just to let air flow through there. Once that oil is done draining, I'm going to put my bolt back on, and there's an O-ring on there, so you don't have to wrench it on super tight. Just get it on there with your ratchet, nice and snug, call it good, and then we'll move on to changing the oil filter on this. All right, we're done draining here. I'm going to put this back on. Righty tighty. All right, we're good there. Now what you're going to want to do with that oil filter is pull your drain pan up towards you. You can't miss the oil filter. It's literally right up here. And I usually don't use an oil filter wrench. When I change the oil, I do it hand tight. There's a washer on there, a rubber washer. So as long as you get it hand tight on there, it seals and it's good to go. So usually what I do is I'm able to get it off just with using my hands. Again, lefty-loosey, make sure your oil pan is underneath there because oil will come out of that oil filter. It's tight. Use my good hand. I'm left-handed. Wanted to switch that up. Oh, doesn't help that it's 12 degrees. Yeah, there comes oil. That's why these rubber gloves are awesome. I usually wear the black ones because they look awesome. Ran out of those. So I'm onto the blue ones. Make sure when you're unscrewing this, you don't drop it. There's been many times I've just dropped the oil filter right in. Next up, got to put your new oil filter on. FL-910S. And what I always do is take some of that oil, old oil, dip your finger in it, and put some oil on this O-ring, washer, whatever you want to call it. What that does is when it makes that seal with the metal where the oil filter mounts up, and it makes it easier to get off and doesn't get stuck. Because if you were to take this off and that O-ring got stuck and then you put another oil filter on there, well, it leaves a gap and you'll shoot oil all over the place. Happened to my brother once, shot oil all over. Never gonna forget that, and I'll never let him live it down. So let's put this on. Switch to my good hand. Like I said, I just hand tighten it on there. I just want to make sure it's seated all the way up. All right, we're good. All right, next step down here. Let's get that oil out. Old oil out of there. Clean up any oil that got on any of the other parts. And then put that air dam back on. All right, next up, let's put in 5 quarts of oil. I know it calls for, the capacity is 5.7. I always put 5 in, and then I start up the engine and see where we're at with the dipstick. So here's those 2 holes I was talking about at the top of your engine. You have your dipstick over here on the left and your oil fill on the right. And it says right on the cap what kind of oil it takes, 5W30. So that's what we're gonna do. Funnel, cap off. Let's get to it. 5 quarts go in. All right, we got our 5 quarts in. I ran the engine for a little bit to circulate that oil through the whole engine and back through the oil filter. Let's pull our dipstick out. And the first one, just clean it all the way off. You're not going to get a good reading that first time. Stick it back in all the way down. Make sure you seat it all the way down. Pull it out. And there's 2 holes on here and little hash marks. Make sure you turn it over and see on each side. So it's right at the bottom of the lowest setting, bottom hole. So we're going to add probably another 1/2 quart and call it good. And what you can do, we'll add another 1/2 quart, double check it again, start the engine up, double check it, make sure we're good to go. That's in between those hash marks, in between those 2 holes that are on there. And then make sure you go on your dash and your computer in there and reset your oil life. That's how you change oil in a 2016 Ford Edge with the 2.0 turbo. I hope you enjoyed this. Hope you learned something. If you like videos like this, want to see me do other things, be sure to message me, comment, like, share. Thanks for watching.